So when we go online, we actually go onto a website. Now, for all you know, it might be a Facebook, or it could be a Twitter, or your favorite YouTube, but they are all websites. So there are lots of types of websites. Now, website could be a portal, so something like Yahoo or MSN or Rediff, where you got all kinds of information at your at the click of your mouse. Then you have something called a vortal. Vortal is a vertical portal. So essentially, if you're talking about a financial vortal, then you can think about a vortal in terms of a moneycontrol.com, or you can think about a vortal in terms of a shadi.com. So essentially, a vortal is a portal for only one vertical. Now, there are also brand pages. So each corporate would like to have their own web presence. Uh, each corporate brand, so if you have a Hindustan Lever, they will have their web presence. Hindustan Lever has several brands under their in their basket. Each brand would also have their own web presence. So you might see a website for surf. You might actually have a PNG website as well as a website for say oil of Olay, and so on and so forth. So there are various kinds of websites, and each of these websites have a certain importance or a strategic importance, which adds value not only to the brand but also to the whole corporate per se. That is why it is very important that these websites are laid out in a very professional manner, so that uh, you know uh, there is no dissonance with respect to the company. Now, if you look at any campaign, so when we talk about internet marketing, we talk about SEO or SEM or banner advertising or even social media. One of the most important objectives is to actually drive traffic to the website or the web page or something known as a landing page, which has been created specifically for a campaign or specifically for a product or a brand. So ultimately, if a campaign is meant to drive traffic to the website, and once on the website, if the person is not able to translate that action into the desired result, then it is a waste of all the expense that we have spent on the SEO or the SEM or even the banner campaign. Therefore, it is extremely important that we have the right kind of layout, the right kind of buttons, the right kind of labels on the button, so that it makes it easier for the person visiting the website to understand what he needs to do next so as to be able to complete the task. Yes, task is an important word here, because each one of us, when we visit a website, we have a task in mind. So if I go to an HDFC Bank website, I want to check out the different credit cards that have that can be offered and what features each credit card has. So basis that, I can choose the right kind of offering for my requirements. Similarly, if I go to an insurance site, I want to choose a good general insurance for my car, say for example, and I want to know the details of the insurance policy. So what is it that I can actually claim, and what is the claim procedure, how easy is the claim procedure. So then that will actually help me decide whether A policy is better for me or B policy is better for me, and that really adds a lot of value. And here it makes it very important that the website has the right kind of buttons, has the right kind of guidance. So when I come onto the website, the navigation is so intuitive. So intuitive is basically the moment you see something, you should be able to know what you need to click so as to get that information. Ultimately, the real effectiveness of a website is about how you can complete your desired task in the least number of clicks in the least amount of time. And that is a science that has been evolving over the years. And today there is a whole subject called usability, which adds value to this whole design approach.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Okay.
हो ओके आहे. मध्ये मध्ये खरखर आवाज येत होता, त्याच्यामुळे ह्या माईकचा काहीतरी इश्यू आहे.
So usability as a subject is really gaining in importance over the years, and today there are institutes that offer courses purely in usability and usability testing so that we can make the interface as user friendly as possible. Uh, so today we will try and understand what makes a website intuitive, what makes a website user friendly, and what kind of content or features should be there on a website so that the person or the customer is conveniently can navigate on the website. Here we come to another new term which I would like to introduce, and which is called customer centricity. Customer centricity, as the name suggests, what would come to your mind when you hear the word customer centricity? It's about the customer being at the center of all the activities that are happening on the website. So it's a very simple term, but it is a very important term in the whole field of online marketing. So today, all web interfaces are tried to be designed in a customer centric manner. All processes and all content features that are added onto the are actually based on whether it will help the customer or not. So the design of all these content and features would be done keeping the customer at the center of the whole activity, and that is why it is called customer centricity. Now, I mean, yes, it is a very simple term, but it is extremely important because today in a competitive world, most of us use the websites or most of us use the online mediums to actually evaluate products before we actually buy them. So, if I have a life insurance company and if I have B life insurance company and I want to check out uh, the features of the products that are being offered by both. Now, if A life insurance company has a very user friendly website and I am able to access all the information much more easily, compared to a B where it's not such a user friendly website, although their products might be far better, there is a very high probability I might go in for the product offered by A because I am able to access information much better. So when I'm able to access information in an easier manner, I'm actually getting a feeling that these people are maybe better organized. Okay, maybe their claims process is much easier because if you can have a web interface that is much more friendlier, obviously their claims procedure might be easier. Okay, so use of forms, use of tools like say recommendation engines, etc., makes a lot of difference in giving the customer the right kind of impression about your company, and that is where it is very important even for a purpose of branding, because today branding is not just about a product and the way packaging is done or how the product looks from the outside, but it is also about the service that a corporate provides along with the product. Okay. And today, in fact, most product companies or even say consumer durable companies, they are differentiating each other on the basis of the service that they are providing. So if you see this ad of Lloyd's AC or Lloyd's, they have this Khushi Anki guarantee or some kind of a number which you have to give to the person who has visited your house for the service. And really that doesn't in a way differentiate the product in a big way, because today most AC companies would be able to provide the same kind of product, but the differentiation is actually in the way the service is being provided. And again, website today is becoming a very important way in which service can be provided. So if I need a service, I can request for it on a website, and that really adds in a great way to the whole brand experience, so to say. So I will just go and give you a little bit of example on how websites are important and how it is critical to have. Okay. So we have different kinds of website. I said news, social networking. So our real interest area has to be because we're talking about marketing as a concept, and we would be basically focusing on corporate websites or brand websites or maybe campaign microsites. Okay, microsite. So what is the difference between a microsite and a website? Not much actually. Just that a microsite is a much smaller entity. So the kind of information that is there on a microsite is much lesser as compared to that on a website. Microsites are normally created only for specific campaigns, only for specific activities for a very short period. Whereas brand websites are created for the whole brand, so till the existence of the brand is there. Yes, websites do need to be recreated and redesigned or revamped, but typically it is done in a time gap of around 1.5 to 2 years for top brands. And yes, corporate websites, we have to keep monitoring and updating them all the time. So if you see a bank website, say 2 years ago, and if you see it today, there would be a huge difference in the kind of the layout, in the kind of navigation that they are providing, and in every way the information that is being dished out to the final consumer on the website. So it is very pertinent to remember again, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, I would like to say that when we visit a website, we have a specific task in mind. And for example, if you visit a Samsung website, you want to check out what features does a smartphone have. Or for that matter, even if you go on Flipkart, then you would want to check out the comparative features between a Samsung, say Samsung Grand and maybe a Micromax Canvas. So really you want to actually compare, you want to evaluate, and then you want to make a purchase decision. So yes, so there we get into the field of consumer behavior. What is the purchase process? And the whole idea that maybe Flipkart is doing is that they have these the filters, they have a comparison engine, and it is actually trying to simulate your buying process on the website. So here it is even more important that we understand how a consumer actually decides on what brand to invest in, or what not only brand but what model to go in for, because that meets his requirement in a more complete manner. And it is therefore very important or pertinent for us to understand the purchase behavior and try to simulate it online, so that uh, the whole process or the whole transaction is done in a very seamless manner. Because when I go to the website, I really don't have time. Okay, time is at a premium today, and I mean, I want to just check it out quickly. I want to take a decision. I want to make the payment, and I want to get the delivery in done in as short a period as possible. So really, it's about managing to meet that or complete that task in the minimum number of clicks and the minimum amount of time, as I said earlier. So now we're talking about usability centered design. Usability centered design is basically nothing but creating an interface or a web interface that is usable or user friendly and also centered around the customer. So it's about customer centricity, understanding what the customer needs, simulating the buying process, and then creating that on a web interface in a very user friendly manner. So this is the whole cycle of creating web interfaces that are user friendly. Now these are certain stages.
थोडं तुम्ही हळू बोला सर तुमच्या आवाजामध्ये.
Okay, हळू म्हणजे वॉल्यूम कमी.
वॉल्यूम थोडा जसं तुम्ही नॉर्मल बोलता तसंच बोला, जास्त जोरात आवाज नका घालू.
ओके,
ओके. आणि इफ पॉसिबल थोडासा हात कमी हलवला का.
हात कमी हलवू.
हलवा.
हां, ठीक आहे चालेल ना. नो ॲक्च्युली काल आय थॉट ॲनिमेटेड असेल तर इट इज बेटर. सो
हां बट आता नाव दॅट माईक इज नॉट दॅट कम्फर्टेबल.
ओके 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 ओके.
हां म्हणून.
Otherwise the content is okay, right? Okay. So typically, how is a website really created? It starts from the requirements definition. So you want to, it starts with everything starts with the corporate, deciding what is the business objective. So when you list down all the business objectives, so if it's a say corporate website or it's a product website. So if a corporate wants to have its own website, it wants to talk about what the company is all about. What are the company's strengths? Who is the management? What is the credentials of the management? What is the kind of staff that we have? What is the kind of infrastructure that the company has? So for example, how many factories, how many offices, whether it has sales offices in several countries or how many cities in India, what are the kind of products that they are actually manufacturing, so on and so forth. And at the same time, one of the objectives could be actually to get good manpower all the time. So then we could have pages about how career growth happens and what kind of career growths have already happened. So then you can have a testimony of an employee who has actually grown through the system and become a big shot. Okay, who are the alumni? So people who have quit from here have moved to which organization and what level they are in. So these kind of information will actually help in getting good manpower or human resources to the organization. And this is really very important for so it is important that when we start off, we sort of define what are the objectives of creating that website, and then we move on to requirements definition. So what is a requirement definition? Is given that there is a business objective, what are the areas, what is the content that would actually help meet that objective? So for example, we talked about testimonials, we talked about alumni information. So these are the kind of content that will actually help and add value in meeting that business objective. Some problem? And once that is done, there is a lot of research done on the internet itself. See, there are a lot of websites in the same domain or in different industries in the same kind of business setups. Or if it's a B2B marketing, then there are other companies who are into B2B marketing, maybe a different industry, but they have good websites and they have good features on the websites. Uh, so there is no need to really reinvent the wheel. Just do a lot of research on the net itself, and then when we have done the research, we list down some interesting features that we have seen on the other websites. Having done that, then we can actually ideate whether we need to tweak any feature or we need to tweak any tool, so that it actually can be customized for our specific requirement. And once that is done, we make a laundry list of all the content, all the features, all the tools, and you sort of create a list. Once that list is in place, we create something called the information architecture. Information architecture is nothing but a sitemap. So what are the content that will be grouped together, how do we label it, and what would be the structure of each of these content. And once that is done, we create something called a wireframe, and then we get into the design. So I will give you a very live example so that you are able to understand how each of these stages function, and what is the kind of activity that happens in each of these stages. Now, let's look at a consumer durable brand. Maybe for the sake of just giving an example, let's call it Indiana. Okay. Now, what is a durables market in India? Durables market in India basically consists of white goods, which is refrigerators, washing machines, ACs, and audio. Then you have something called the brown goods, which is mixer grinder, microwaves, iron, so on and so forth. And then you have the consumer electronics, which is essentially televisions, mobile phones, MP3 players, DVD players, VCRs, so on and so forth. Now, for the sake of understanding, Indiana has a presence, has a dominating presence in the consumer electronics business. So it has all the products that a consumer electronics company normally can offer. At the same time, in other areas like say brown goods, they have a microwave oven, and in white goods, they have a refrigerator and a washing machine, or maybe a washing machine and an AC. Okay. Now, if then we look at the marketplace. So if you search for the understanding the market is very important, and really it is very important to even understand where the gap is in the marketplace, so that we can actually position the product or the brand in the right gap. And again, gap analysis and all etc. would be maybe covered in a separate session where we're talking about marketing and positioning and all those concepts. But once we identify the gap, the first step for that is actually to understand what the market is. So for example, Indian durables market has a size of around $30 million, and it has $13 billion, sorry, and it has been growing by around 8% every year. typically Associam predicts that there is going to be a 40% per annum growth in the rural market every year, and that is a huge growth, which means that the real growth for this sector is in the rural market. Now, look at the interesting part is that today in India, internet penetration is there, but it is not so good. More importantly, broadband is restricted only to the urban areas. So, and if it's a heavy website, we need to actually have a broadband connection to actually access the website and use the information in a better manner. So it becomes very important that if we want to target the rural market, the kind of content should not be very heavy, because if we don't have a broadband connection and if you try to consume that information, then it is going to be very difficult for a person to actually understand or get meaningful information from that website. Now, what are the opportunities? There is a growing demand for premium products. Uh, Organized retail is growing rapidly in the rural areas. So, earlier if you didn't have say maybe Vijay sales, but today you have a Vishal Mega Mart in the smaller urban centers. And it makes a lot of difference if you have organized retail, because earlier people in the villages needed to go to their nearest city or a town to get their own consumer durable product. And again, in rural market, there's always a huge demand for low cost products. So we really have to understand which products to sort of give emphasis on the website, and what kind of features, what kind of uh, content would actually help create that emphasis on the website for those specific products. So if you look here in this example, okay, say Indiana has a presence in a say electronics, consumer electronics market. Now consumer electronics could be TV, for example. Let's just take the category of TV, or let's take the category of okay, TV is the best idea. So when we are talking about TV, Indiana has a range of TVs. Indiana has the latest Ultra HD TV, and at the same time it has a normal the cathode ray tube TV, which has been in use for many years now, maybe right from when I was a child. So, what is the kind of product that maybe a villager would be wanting to buy? What is the kind of product that maybe a person in the urban areas might be wanting to buy? It, the whole thing is very different. So really, it makes sense to have separate sites for separate products, because I'm targeting urban areas with maybe Ultra HD TV or a HD TV, and to give that technological superiority, or create that perception of it being the state of the art technology, you need to have a very heavy website. You need to have a lot of frills on the website, a lot of content that will sort of hit you in the eye and say, yes, this is what I want to do or want to buy. Whereas for the villagers, maybe we need to have a lighter website where they just want to buy a TV, but and they don't have internet speed. So at the same time, you have to look at what kind of features, what kind of content would be there, so that it is easier to load, and at the same time they are able to evaluate the product and decide on the best product for purchase. So here you come to the concept of having a product website. Okay. Or if you have a separate brand for, so if Indiana uh, creates a new brand for their Ultra HD TV saying Indiana Plus, then for example you can have a brand website called indianaplus.com. Now again, that is a business decision that needs to be taken. What kind of interface to be created for what kind of product, because we are talking about a different segment of the market. So here you come to another concept of marketing called segmentation, and it is very important to target the right segment and target the right communication to the right segment, and this is the basis of all marketing. Can we take a break? I'll just have a sip of water.